Good morning or good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to today's Capture One webinar. Let's just see if the webcam is working. Yay, it is. Excellent. So today we have a special guest, Tina Eisen. More on you in a second, but today we're going to be talking about your particular workflows in Capture One. Just so you know who you are looking at, this is a picture of us who you're looking at as well. So I'm the guy at the top, David. I'm part of the software sales team based out of Copenhagen in Denmark. But today we're in the UK, and Tina, you are based in the UK as well.
Yeah.
As I have to get this right because I got it wrong earlier, a beauty, editorial and commercial fashion photographer.
Almost. We can roll with that. Yeah.
We'll roll with that. Close enough. Yeah. So what we're going to look at today is basically we're going to look at your work, first of all, in Capture One, and then we're going to look at sort of two different genres that you do, the kind of stuff that you do in Capture One, how it helps you, and so on. Yeah. So that's the plan, at least.
Sounds good.
We have 60 minutes. You're very welcome and encouraged to ask questions throughout. If you're on your Mac or PC, you'll see the last section at the bottom of your GoToWebinar control panel is called questions. Put a question in there that will come straight through to me and Tina, and I'll just feed the questions through to Tina as they come. There is rather a lot of you, so if we don't get to your specific question, please don't be offended, but we try and answer sort of the common ones that are coming through as well. The session is being recorded too, so if you forget anything or you want to watch it again, which I'm sure you will, then it will be up on our YouTube channel probably tomorrow or the day after. Okay, so with that in mind, let us begin. By the way, if you want to hide our faces,
why would you?
Why would you? I know. But if you want to hide our faces on your transmission, you can do that. You can just turn basically the webcam off if you want more of a full screen view. There's a little separator bar in between the webcam view and the screen view, so you can adjust the size as you wish as well. So, that's Tina's Instagram for later. So I'm just going to come out of this, and now we need to share Tina's screen. So let me just pass you over to Tina. Yep, we can see Tina on screen. So what we can see right now is obviously Capture One. For those of you who haven't used Capture One, this is Capture One on screen with a sample of your kind of work. So two distinct different things. So you can describe, rather than me describe, why don't you describe exactly what it is?
So I'm predominantly a beauty photographer, so that's what I'm passionate about. I shoot people close up.
Okay.
In the face. And so that's editorial style. You can see that on the screen. So it's a little bit more creative, a little bit more out there. I do macro shots as well. I put a little example up for you.
Okay.
And there's also fashion. So this is what I do during the week. I shoot a lot of commercial stuff for, like if you're shopping online, anything, clothing, accessories, that sort of stuff, the images that come up with that. And I would use Capture One for that too.
Okay. So two kind of quite different bits of work, if you like. So obviously you've chosen to use Capture One. I mean, yes, this is a Capture One webinar after all, but just to sort of interject, we cover some sort of technical aspects of Capture One, if you like. And if there's time at the end, then we can talk about more businessy stuff as well. So we're kind of go tech first of all, and then business later on if we can as well. So you've chosen Capture One as I said. So obviously two very different kinds of photography. So I mean, what are the benefits are you finding first of all for the the first part of your work, the close-up stuff?
I mean, in general, just pictures straight out of camera to me look a lot more pleasing into Capture One. So I have seen comparisons to other programs, and I just think that what I see popping up first thing is a lot more real to what I have in front of me. So I think the program translates the colors really well, the contrast. So for me, that's really important. I want to have the picture look as good as it can straight out of camera.
For sure.
And then obviously for beauty work, I do work with teams a lot, and I have people on set with me, and it's really, really important. I use the program mainly for quality control. So, you know, I'm really close in someone's face. You can see every pore, every flaw, literally. So for me to have the makeup artist be able to see if she's, you know, like smudged something, or if like something's out of place, if the hair is in the way, for her to be able to see it pop up on screen almost simultaneously to me shooting is super important. And then, you know, it's a question of she can fix it straight away. It's going to take her 5 seconds rather than me half an hour in retouch.
Trying to do it in retouch, exactly.
And then with fashion work, it's more of, you know, the speed of it. You don't have the volumes that we go through in a day. You don't have time to not like shoot it to card and upload it.
No.
You want that to come up straight away, do quality checks on it, and then send it off to retouch as soon as you can. It's a speed issue with that sort of work. But yeah, very different purposes, but I couldn't live without the program either way.
So
not
collaboration. Not just yet. So collaboration on set, I guess, for the first one, as you said, because it's you, the makeup artist, the hairdresser, client, all peering at the screen and so on. Yeah,
and a lot of people, they kind of forget that a makeup artist, a hairstylist job, it doesn't end when the model gets out of the chair. You know, they're on set with you, they can keep an eye. And at the same time, so do I. I always have my screen, you know, like kind of like in my side vision and I've got clumsy fingers, you know, I've accidentally changed settings on my camera before and then 20 pictures later realized it.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's really good to kind of always have an eye on what you're doing. And and then also, I don't know if I'm getting ahead of myself, but I kind of cull images while I'm shooting.
Right.
And I can keep an eye on, if I shoot sets, like editorial sets, I can keep an eye if I'm being repetitive in terms of posing. And so after every look, I use the program for culling and selection already. Rather than, you know, like if I would be shooting to card, I could figure out at the end of the day that the model was facing right in every single image, and I wouldn't be able to do anything about it. But Capture One gives me the opportunity to just keep an eye on, you know, variety.
And you said something earlier when we were chatting before we went live that, you know, yes, you can shoot quickly to card as well, of course, but then if you're relying on, you know, a little tiny display, you can't tell if there's, you know, a hair out of place or, you know, wispy hair or a pore or something like that.
Yeah, so no way, that's way too small.
Big on screen is good.
A lot of people are concerned. Sometimes I get the question, like, how do I stop the model from getting distracted by shooting tethered, for example? And a simple solution, I usually have the screen kind of like next to her. So I'm looking at both at the same time and she can't get too distracted. And I mean, it's still good for her to see what she's doing, but you know, like I don't want it to interrupt the flow, but as long as I can see it and the team can see it, kind of enough.
Excellent. All right. So let's talk about Capture One.
Let's do it. What
or show the people Capture One.
Okay, so am I keeping this?
Yeah, that should disappear once. There we go. When Tina was looking at herself on screen.
I miss myself already. So what shall we start with?
Well, I think, again, before we started, you had some...
Toning.
Yeah, toning side of things.
So I'll show you this example. If I'm going too fast, by the way, or if something's unclear, you know, just hit me up. I know.
Nope, no one's,
I know I can
no
ramble.
one says we're not rambling yet.
So I've got an image here that I shot at the weekend.
Okay.
And I'm going to show you. So this is the picture straight out of camera.
Okay.
And so people ask me how I handle tones, because usually there's a certain style to my images, you know, it's usually quite warm and pleasing. And they think there's, you know, like rocket science to it, but there's a lot that I actually do in Capture One. So this is an image straight out of camera on the left, and on the right, that's after adjustments that I've done in Capture One. So you can already see that the skin tone is a lot more even, you know, the shadows and highlights are a lot more even, and I've brought the color of the flowers out a little bit, and also of the lipstick, it's a lot better, and the contrast of the freckles a little bit. I'm sure you guys can't see that, but take my word for it. So that's all steps that I can do in there, and I'm going to show.
But it's interesting that it's not like massively different either.
No, and I wouldn't want it to be that either. So if you guys have a look there, that's all the layers that I would have done for it. So I started on skin tones. Do you want me to show what I did?
Yeah,
I could literally like do another like close.
Yeah. Let's do that. I mean, don't worry about being as sort of perfect, but I think it's interesting to see exactly you know, that kind of process.
Yeah, sure.
And if,
like just,
you know, if people are new to Capture One, this part, I guess it's not the same as Photoshop, but it's similar in that you can make a layer, you draw a mask, and then the adjustments only affect that masked area.
And, you know, people, the thing is, if you have a client on set, I would rather show them as close to the finished image as I can. So
it's
like,
not a surprise.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And rather than being like, oh no, don't worry about that bit, I can Photoshop that later. So I would rather do those adjustments really quickly there, like, and show them what they are going to get.
Absolutely.
Okay, so this is the background there. I'm going to make a new one there, and I'm going to rename that. Literally super easy. Just click on it. Skin tone.
Yeah, and we had a question from Maha, or Maya, sorry if I'm not saying the name right. How do you get the nice skin tone? So this applies
I will show you
exactly
right
to
now.
you. Yep.
And then I'm in this little, you know, section, the 3 circles. That's where all the colors hidden. And then down here, there is something called a color editor. So you've got basic, advanced, and skin tone here. The ones that I use are advanced and skin tone. So I'm going to show you both within this. So since we're starting on skin tone, that's where I'm going to be in. So I'm going to choose my little picker, and I usually go for somewhere, you know, like mid-tones, like an area that I like. So there you go. Also, I should probably be masking. Let's go back in there. Down there, you see you have a draw tool and erase mask, and I'm just going to do this like super rough. So this is important. You know, the skin and the hair kind of like almost have a similar tone already. And so if I was going in and just like pick the whole image without like having made a mask, it would affect the hair as well.
Yeah, and I guess you find that quite often that.
Yeah, literally all the time.
Not in my case because I don't have any hair, but you know, quite. But generally, hair and skin tone can be quite close, or at least by doing the mask, then you've got the ability to be really targeted. Yeah.
This is not pretty, but just, you know, just
quick and dirty.
Yeah, so you can refine this mask, but I'm going to show you that on a different section in a second, like on the lips, I think. So let's just trust this, this selection. So I have masked the skin there. So we're going back down here to the skin tone, and I can adjust the hue of the skin. You see, there's like 2 sections there. So amount is up there, and uniformity is down there. Oh, it's the beach ball of doom. So up here, I can actually, you know, like pick my skin tone. You see, if I pull this to the right, we're going a lot warmer there. This is a little bit more purpley. So let's just go warm today. So this is basically where you're adjusting your selection. And then lightness is okay, I think. And then down here is uniformity, and that's what I think is like magic in Capture One. Yeah. So where you have differences in hue or saturation or lightness in this picture, you can now adjust that. So say if the skin color on her body and on her face were 2 different things, this would basically, you know, your selection that you have up there, I'm going to widen out a little bit. The selection that it picked for your color pick, it brings it as close to the center as possible in like adjusting uniformity.
Yeah,
so did I say that well?
Yeah.
So I'm going to just play with that. I'm going to try and make it quite extreme so you guys can actually see what it did. And then same for lightness. So if you like, let me just pull that. So yeah, that would be like super flat. Some people like it. And the same for saturation. If areas are there that are more or less saturated than like the average, it would just bring it closer to the center. Let me show you by clicking the layer on and off what I've done there. Can you see that? I'm trying to make it quite extreme. So you see how the red on her cheek is gone. Now, I wouldn't necessarily do that because that was intentional by the makeup artist, but I want to show the viewer. Like,
yeah, of course. I mean, you could be very selective with the mask. Yeah, absolutely.
Should we do that? You know, I mean, over here.
You can always erase a little bit and so on.
How cute is that? Give a bit of flush
the
back.
Clown mask. Yeah.
And then actually let's refine that a little bit because that was quite harsh. So you right click on your layer and you have the option to refine your mask. Display it so you know what you're doing. And there you can basically make that a lot more, you know, like smooth and
yeah, it's very similar. Correct me if I'm wrong, can't remember what it's called in Photoshop. I think in Photoshop it's now named Refine Mask. It used to be called
I think so, yeah.
something else, but now Refine Mask. Yeah.
So again, before and after, and you can really see it on the shadow under her neck. Like that's kind of like a lot closer to everything else that's going on. You know, the uniformity and lightness is like the most obvious thing here.
And even if you're not talking about faces, like quite often hands, skin tone on the hands goes really, really pink if it's cold in the studio, or I mean, it's actually hot in the UK today, so we're more, well, I'm more flushed than normal. So yeah, so it can be used to equalize really any part of the body.
So I've put them up next to each other so people can see the comparison. So already like I've brought the tones nearly to what I want them to be right now. There's a lot more things that you can do in there. You can fiddle with your contrast, for example, and with your sharpness. It's something that like sharpness I would use for product photography more, but in cases like this, I have used it to bring out the freckles a little bit. You have to use that.
That would be interesting to see. I think.
Show you that.
Yeah. Because I've heard about people doing this, but I've never actually seen it myself. So.
I will show you with pleasure. So yeah, like I would use that very carefully. Like the sharpening tool, I just use, a tiny little bit.
Like default sharpening in Capture One is pretty good. It's probably on the scale of, normal to sort of more sharp. It's probably eking over into the sort of sharper area a bit, but I think the defaults are pretty good. I mean, we took it down a little bit, like a few years back it was too sharp the default, but it's now a lot more subtle.
Yeah. So I'm going to show you how I use that other color tool as well now. So I'm going to make another little layer, and I'm going to call that lips. You know what? I might actually use a different image for that because you can't see much of her lips here.
Okay.
Do you mind that?
No, not at
all. Where can we see them well? Never mind. I'm just going to do it anyway. Right. So let me go back in there.
Yeah, you can see it. Yeah.
So let me zoom in on them a little bit. That's too much. That's where the clumsiness comes in. Okay, so we have made another layer now, and again, I'm going to use the draw mask to actually draw around her lips. I'm going to just make that tool a little bit smaller. And again, I'm not winning any awards for.
No, I guess if you were doing this for real, you might be a little bit more accurate, I guess. Yeah.
So yeah, that's a bit down there. And again, a few people asked me that when I showed it last week. You right click on your layer and there's the option to refine. Make sure you click it on display mask so you actually see what your adjustments, what effect they have. And there you go. Nah, that's gonna do for today. So we have masked lips out, and then we're going back down here. Where am I? Sorry, I was on the wrong tab there. Color, and this time I'm going to use advanced. This is not about like bringing uniformity. I'm just like kind of like really
playing
trying
with
to
the
show.
color. Yeah.
So there we go. So there, by clicking View Selected Color Range, you can actually see what you selected, and this shows that if I wouldn't have masked the lips out, it would have basically taken her whole face.
Exactly, because we always have red.
Yeah, and even like some of the daisies there and stuff like that. So I'm going to click that off. There you go. So now here you can really play with the colors of that. You see, like if I pull it to the left, it's completely like magenta. I've actually never used that word. I feel sophisticated right now. So yeah, I do like the lip color, and it was intentional by the makeup artist. So we're going to stick to red, but I'm going to make it a touch more saturated and maybe a little bit lighter. Again, I'm going to overdo it a tiny little bit so you guys can really see the difference. And go back into your layers. Tiny difference. But again, the stuff that you can do with this. I'm doing something subtle like lips today. When it comes to product photography, I'm going to show you this as a little example. Sometimes I have to shoot like the same bag, styled exactly the same, like in 5 different colors. And oops, where am I? I've actually done this. Here's one I prepared earlier. So this bag was originally that. And with this advanced tool, I can basically bring it to anything.
Yeah.
Like you can do blue, yellow, anything out of that. So yeah, like obviously, like I do shoot more beauty, so this would, like this would apply to if there's like a nice eyeshadow and you kind of really want to make it pop, or like lip color, that sort of thing. And as I said earlier, I brought these daisies out, made the green. Like, I don't have to show you like with every single bit, but you would pick the green, same step, and just, you know, make it a little bit more saturated. There's so much you can do there. Pretty much.
Good question from Sebastian. So, I mean, in the workflow so far, you've got the good out-of-the-box color. You've done a little bit of skin uniformity, change something like the lips or enhance eyeshadow or whatever. You can do all of that in Capture One. Sorry, find Sebastian's question. Like your final color grading, for example, or what else would you do in Photoshop? Because Photoshop's a reality. It's not.
Yeah, definitely.
We can't not talk about Photoshop.
That's it.
So what's the next step, if you like?
So once I'm done here, so this was the image again that where I was happy with. I would then, where am I? I would then, do you want me to open it in Photoshop?
Oh no, actually, let's.
Yeah, I can show you how
we wanted to. Show how you would. Yeah.
So basically, I would right-click on this image, and you see that edit with, which then opens it up in Photoshop and creates a PSD file, basically next to my raw file in Capture One. I'm talking. So like anything I'm doing in Photoshop from now on and saving comes up straight in Capture One as well. So yeah, so I would open this into Photoshop. So my workflow is Capture One, Photoshop, back to Capture One. And the reason for that is, so I do initial adjustments like I just shown you. In Photoshop, I will do healing and cloning, and also dodge and burn. Now, you can do dodge and burn in Capture One as well. That's possible with layers, but I'm quite like, it's, you know, it's such detailed work. I'm just a lot quicker in Photoshop. That's just what it is. So yeah, it's a lot of dodge and burn work there. And so that's the more like, I swear by dodge and burn because it's non-destructive. It just, you know, like you're smoothing someone's features without actually altering them. Really. So that's what I would do there. And right in the end, when I'm done, say if I do a set, I will pull the whole set back into Capture One. Reason for that is that I don't usually retouch everything in one day. And I sometimes stray a little bit in terms of like tones and stuff. Like, I want to see them as a set. Like I think it's a lot easier in Capture One to see them all. And then if I go, oh, well, this picture is a touch warmer than everything else, I then just adjust it and make the whole set uniform in there.
Absolutely.
There's, you know, like I am quite set in my ways in terms of toning. So what you're seeing on the screen right now is what is throughout my portfolio. So I'm quite set on this, but there is little extensions for Photoshop, for example, where I can just completely play around and get suggestions for different tones and stuff. So I do use that too, but usually I would just stick to this. Warm colors are really pleasing to the human eye. So I'm, you know, like, that's my style.
Well, as I said earlier, you know, your out of camera shot
is pretty
close, which is quite amazing, actually.
Thank you.
What was I going to say? Oh, freckles. We went off track. Freckles. Yeah, I want to see the freckle thing because I've tried to do that myself and I've never managed to.
I mean, these freckles are pretty amazing. I have to give a massive shout out to the makeup artist.
Are they real freckles? Or
no, they're not.
Wow.
So this is
they look real.
This is handmade. So my very good friend Louise, the makeup artist, she's done these and they're just magic. But hey, just for the purpose of showing this, I'm gonna bring them out a little bit. So I made another layer, and again, I'm gonna use this little brush tool, maybe do it a bit bigger this time. Soft as well, and I'm just going to go in there. Now this is a little bit more of a fiddly one because I'm trying to not hit this highlight too much. I don't want to contrast that too much.
Right.
So not pretty. Maybe a couple in the forehead as well. There you go. So it depends on what you want to, you know, like put emphasis on. Like some people might go and like bring those eyelashes out a little bit as well.
Yeah, true.
So it's just, you know, while we're here. So I have masked these out. And then, where are we? There we go. So we got sharpening down here. So I would play with that a little bit. I have never gone above 250. So I'm not going to start that today. Let me actually see, because this is so subtle. I just want to make sure that people can actually see. Oh, good. Can actually see what I'm doing there.
Okay.
you know what I can? I'm going to just make that really, right, I'm going to go extreme so you guys can see it, right? Keep an eye on those little freckles there.
Yeah.
They're really, really contrasty. Say I've overdone it there. You can also take the opacity of the layer down, but
yeah, of course.
I'm just going to take the amount of sharpening down.
So interesting. So you just do a little bit of extra sharpening on the freckly spots, just.
Yeah, I would. Like in beauty, that's sort of the stuff what I would use it for. Maybe like eyebrows, eyelashes, just something where I want, you know, the viewer's eye to be drawn to. Yeah. Right. But again, I use it like very carefully. I would use it more in product photography, like on like bags and stuff like that. I do sharpen there, like a little bit. Just looks a lot nicer. So yeah, like I think there's a lot more you can do here. I could play with, you know, you see how the hair is a little bit uneven in terms of tones. That would be, I would almost probably use the skin tone tool for that because it's very close anyway. Yeah. That I could do. And
that's a good point, because even though the color editor skin tone tab is called the skin tone tab.
The skin tone is,
it could be anything. It could be a wall in a studio. It could be hair, as you pointed out. It could be like if you wanted the greens on the stems of the flowers to be all the same green, then you could use the skin tone tool as well. So yeah, backgrounds. People use it for that a bit as well, don't they? Like to bring the color to what they want it to be. I have actually done that on the one that I did earlier. I actually made the background lighter there. Just a touch lighter. So I would, same thing again, I would mask it out. Or also for lazy people, not everyone masks the area that they want. Like some people just go on a full on fill layer and then take out what they don't want, isn't it? And you can like invert mask and stuff, like speed. I mean, my preference is quite often I'll do the things that I don't want and then invert. And it just sometimes if you think, is it easier to mask the thing I want? Then that makes sense. If it's easier to do the opposite and invert it, then that makes sense. I think you were some people that I was referring to. The weird people. So I hope that answers Sebastian's question. So I would do, in terms of color and like levels and stuff, that's mainly what I do in Capture One. And then, you know, like dodge and burn and cloning and healing is what I do in Photoshop. Yeah. And then you said, back to Capture One, see them as a set. I think this one is too whatever, too warm, too cold, or so on. I'll show you an example. Yeah, that would be a set that I would fill in there. And then like, for example, I would say, if I'm being really picky right now, the first one has a touch more purple to it than all the other ones. So I can go straight in there, you know, like bring that back a little bit and make sure that they're all like, especially if you're going for editorial submission, you want that to be super uniform in terms of everything. Yeah, it's got the story has to flow, doesn't it? That's it. There was a couple of questions about the bag, which we're going to come to, because they were very interested to see, whoa, how did you do that? Change the color on that? Oh, I would love to show you that. And also edits on the fashion image, like how that's different to a beauty image as well. Okay, I'm going to show you these. So this is an example for one of my commercial clients. My color adjustments in there are basically non-existent, and there's a reason for that. We shoot on several different sets, different models, different photographers. We don't mess around with the settings too much. What we do, basically, at the beginning of the month, or like 2 months, whatever, we determine the contrast and the levels that we want for everything. Like we do this once. Right, that campaign or whatever. Like, and it's the same thing every day pretty much. So once we're happy with what an image looks like, we save that as styles. Okay, in Capture One. Oh yeah, like I might as well show you, I'm talking. So in adjustments, you have the option of styles, and there you see save user style. So I'm probably not going to do it, but you see here, once you go in there, it recognizes what adjustments you have done. So these are ticked, including like crop and everything, which I don't usually save to crop because that changes. Exactly. Like, so you could, deselect the stuff that's going to be. Give me a funny name. My Awesome Style. Yeah. So creative. My Awesome Style. So just as an example, so that is all it takes. So say, for example, I'm just going to give you an example here. I'm going to take this image and reset it to what it was. Yep. There you go. I would then have to go into styles, user styles, my awesome style. And there we go. Wow, that just turned. So yeah, so obviously the crop, it didn't carry over.
But as I said, like some things we should like cropped in and like mess around with like angles all day long. And then another little helpful thing for people in terms of consistency, I put my little...
All your grids and guides.
My grid. So for example, was that centered? Yeah, so this one was centered to, like, let's say that's the one that I'm striving to be consistent with.
Right.
And like I just bring that horizon line exactly there as well, where we're on the nose. Yeah. Yeah, so that makes sure that once these images are all online, that they're all exactly like level with each other, exactly same crops, this and that. So yeah, we don't change color if it comes to something like that. That would be, it's just too many. Like that.
Right.
This, like for fashion, the main thing is that we have consistent look. And once we've determined what color is the truest, with gray card readings, there shouldn't be anything to mess around with anymore.
No. I mean, the color's pretty accurate coming out. I mean, if I guess the image on the right, post-production rejects it, then again, it's easy on the color editor to
that's it. Sometimes
push it one way or another. Yeah.
Sometimes you get like super like difficult colors, so they you know when you shoot that it's not like neons. They kind of like
neons
reflect back on themselves, don't they? It's just like I can't even explain it. But yeah, so for something like that, like we can take a minute and sort that out in Capture. We're trying to not have to do it for everything because of the high volumes.
Exactly.
But I do trust these styles, and that makes sure that everyone on every set, on every model, has the same look.
Yeah. Not a question, David, love your shirt. Oh, thank you. I nearly forgot to wear it as well. It's the Capture One shirt.
I'm still waiting for my mom to ask me something. That would be so sweet.
Your mom hasn't asked a question yet. Terrible.
She's shy.
Question, how do you add the grid? That's a good pertinent one. So
you go into views, and there you can see add guide, and you can add yourself horizontal ones and vertical ones.
Yeah, so it doesn't just have to be a 4x4 grid. They can have millions of, I've seen...
no, you're talking about guides, Andre, sorry.
No, and the guide, what you said was right, but often people just think you can have a grid like 4x4 or something like that.
Yeah.
But having multiple guides is great for this, I would imagine, because that's a really good example.
Definitely. Say, for example, here, like if I wanted, sometimes we have to leave a little bit of like proof space. So I would use them for that as well, and I just push them like to the sides and like make sure that like the product touches proof space evenly.
Gotcha.
Like almost like crop. And then to switch it off, you see it's like illuminated up there right now. So if it you don't have to see it in everything. You can switch it on and off there.
Yeah. I've seen e-commerce outfits where they've had like 100 sort of guides where it's almost like there's a guide for a shoulder, there's an elbow one, neck, chin, so it's
some of
super consistent.
Yeah.
I was just I did see another question, as again, sorry, there is lots of use, so it's not possible to answer every single question.
I'm just going to keep talking while you're looking at that. I'm going to show you a tool that I love massively, and it's called the focus.
Yes.
So I shoot super fast, and admittedly, not everything is always has the focus point that I would want, right? I don't want to say.
Good way of saying it. Yeah.
So, say for example, this helps me with selection. Like, say I really love those 3 images, and I can't decide which one to go for. They're all equally like dear to my heart. Wrong one. I will switch this little handy tool, and which is called a focus mask. And there you can see the areas of focus, and we can already say straight away that the middle picture is not going to be my choice because the focus wasn't on the eye.
Yes, just you can see like focus peaking on a video camera.
And this helps me with like culling massively. Like have this mask on and just like get rid of the bad apples.
Yeah, because I can also show you if we just hide the viewer a second. So you see it's also on all the thumbnails, so it doesn't have to be just on the main viewer image. So you can look at 30 images at a time, as I guess you do, and say out of focus, out of focus, out of focus. I'm sure none are out of focus, of course.
But sometimes it depends as well. Like if I wanted that focus to be on those flowers, we would be good. So that's just an example. I think this shows it really nice how I would use it.
Especially for this work, like if we shot, a landscape, it's less useful because everything is in focus. But for this work, it's invaluable, I guess. Yeah. So focus mask.
Yeah, I love that little guy. I was just trying to make some time while you're finding
Yeah,
questions.
no, I was just like, there was lots of questions about the guides, which is good, and the focus mask. Someone said, how do you retouch? That's a big question for another day.
That's a question for a whole day. Yeah.
There's many courses on that. Does the focus mask only work on a raw image?
It does.
It does.
It does, yeah. Sadly, but as I said, I use this for culling. So if I have retouched that guy already and then checked the focus, we're kind of too late anyway. So that's information I want straight after the show.
Can you show the focus mask in the view menu? Because I can't remember if the icon for the focus mask
What do you mean?
So if you go up to,
where it is,
view, so view, see hide and show, it's this one here. And if you don't have the icon on the toolbar like Tina has,
I would.
You can right click and say customize toolbar, and then you can add.
It's a drag and drop kind of thing, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
It's very clumsy. Yeah, so there's like some, like
billions of buttons.
Billions of like recipe proofing is a good one as well. I get that one in as well. So yeah, you basically just drag and drop whatever you want up there, and that's what I did. So I've got that there because I use it a lot, but it's in view as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Done.
No, it's super handy.
Super handy.
Okay, shall we look at the bag?
Yeah.
The bag. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so I'm gonna delete everything I've done so I can start from scratch here. Okay. Actually, adjustments, reset. There we go. There's our little guy. So I will. Do you want me to do layers or just go for how I would?
How would you do it?
I would literally just do it.
Yeah,
just
that's
right
fine.
In there.
Because I guess in this case, white background, we're only going to affect the leather. I guess it is.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So this time I'm going to use the advanced tab for that. Yes, your little eyedropper tool. And first of all, I'm going to pick the color that I want to, like alter.
Adjust,
Fly. So I'm going to view the selected color range. And the reason why I'm doing that is because I don't want the little metal bit. So we are quite lucky it didn't actually pick it.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's close. And you see by widening your selection, it will take that in. So if you have a situation where too much is chosen, you can always narrow that down.
Squeeze it right down.
So I'm bringing that to a point where all the pinks are in and none of the golds.
Okay.
So down here, that's your, right, I'm going to switch that off for a second. There you go. So this is like your pick. So if you're going really extreme, you can't do it in one go. That's why I had 3 of those picks a second ago.
Yeah.
So there we go. We're going to play with that. If you pull it this way, super. Where should we go? Shall we go blue maybe?
Yeah, go for it.
Right, let's go this way. So I'm going to go as extreme as I can. So on minus 30, you're already getting like a really pink back now, which is way different. I drop a tool again. Same again. Just making sure that we have the logo not in there. And I will go again. And now we have purple. Again, you could have gone the other direction where you would have gone towards the greens more. So now we're already on blue. So I do play a lot with saturation and lightness as well at the same time as well as hue, because I'm just getting it exactly to the product that's in front of me, and the blue bag might have been a bit more saturated than the other ones. And so it's not just you that you can adjust here. I'm just going to show you the back shot of it. So this is where we started at.
Right.
And so
dramatically different.
Dramatically different.
And I did see a question earlier. Someone was asking how far can you go before, if you get banding or posterization. I mean, my technical answer is you can go all the way around the wheel, full circle, without any issues.
Banding has never been an issue for me with that.
That's good to hear that I wasn't talking nonsense. I mean, the way the color editor works is that it recreates the ICC profile. It's actually very powerful the way it does it, which is why you can go extreme like that without getting any issues. Oh, that was Anza. When will the banding begin to appear? And can you do this with white or black? Sadly, no.
No, because it's a color picker.
Yeah, a color picker.
Yeah, so sadly, like black and white doesn't really, it wouldn't.
No, so if the color is like very faint or sort of, I guess, low saturation, then you might have less scope.
When I have that issue, because that can be an issue, say like I have like a few of these guys and there is a black one, that would be the one that I'm not shooting. That would, because you can make black out of a color.
That's true.
So don't do the other way around.
Desaturate that and turn it gray or black.
That's it.
Or whatever. Yeah.
So I would, if I had the choice of a few things, I would take quite a saturated, colorful bag, because you can take the saturation back easily, and you can, you know, like make black out of it, whatever, make pastels out of it. I would go on quite as close to prime color as possible, just to make my life a lot easier.
Yeah. Oh, one thing you could actually, you could show something cool. In the color editor, if you go to the 3 dots.
Yeah. What, these?
These ones here, sorry.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And say create mask layer from selection. So that will use the color edits to make that mask. So if you wanted to think, I want to make that more contrasty or sharper, then see if we press M, then it's just done a mask on the actual color. Yeah.
I did not notice.
There you go. Well, it's kind of hidden.
Everyone's learning something.
It's one of those magic features that you have to hunt for. So, you know, if you wanted to pick out the color of something, remember the color editor, you can only do hue, saturation, lightness, that's it. But by creating the mask from it, then you could do exposure, contrast, sharpening, clarity, structure, or whatever, without having to do fiddly masking. It's hard to do on faces because skin, hair, lips are all in the same spectrum. But for something like that, it's super nice to do.
But then again, if there's guys out there that are like, I don't shoot product, why is this important to me? Like lipstick, I shadow, that sort of stuff, like, you know, works the same way, pretty much.
There's a few people asking about, well, look, I can use my pen on your Wacom. How about that? We're asking about this. I mean, there is no way in Capture One to create an ICC color profile. That's not because we're, you know, mean and nasty and don't want you to do it. It's just one of those features which isn't there. Obviously, you can gray balance. You can use other applications like Basic Color and Luma River if you want to create custom ICC profiles. There's always kind of the element of risk when you create a custom profile. It's not necessarily just going to work super good. I mean, you know better than me. You shoot the commercial beauty, fashion, editorials. I mean, the color coming out of Capture One just after white balance, is it good? Is it amazing? Is it okay?
It's pretty close, right? To be honest. It's like, it's almost there, but again, like with stuff like product photography, you don't just trust. You do a gray card reading.
You do a gray card reading.
And but it's almost there pretty much.
I mean, creating a custom ICC profile isn't necessarily a magic bullet for amazing success. So I agree, it would be a nice feature, but it's not that you can't do it in Capture One. You just need Basic Color or Luma River to create an ICC profile. But generally what we find is once people start using Capture One is that they think, oh, the colors coming out are actually pretty damn good, like you say, and then I have all the tools that I need to refine if necessary.
Pretty damn good.
Yes.
My exact words.
Cool.
What else?
What was saying? Can we see the adjustments in the lookbook shots? Yeah, what did you do to the
so with what I'm going to show you. That was more a question of, right, so we've got exposure a little bit of contrast. Let me see if levels was, no, that was not touched. Highlight and shadow is something that we would play with just in terms of like blacks and whites, you know, how they look. I think, sharpening, like, so usually, that's why I say like 250 is usually the go-to there. And
any like, clarity or
I don't think I have, no.
A little bit.
Oh, I have.
A tiny bit. It was just a guess, but again, pretty close out the box. So not massive amount of
you have
slider
to
pulling.
find a middle ground of what would be pleasing for every single product, right? So I can't go wild and bring these blacks out like massively because my next product's going to be like yellow and it's going to look like crap. Like we have to find a middle ground of being perfect for every color and, you know, clothing.
So you can shoot fast.
That's why these adjustments are like tiny, right?
Small, not massive.
But still important. Like stuff like contrast, I think that makes a difference. It's only little, but
But you wouldn't use layers on this kind of work.
I would on the product stuff because with product photography, sorry.
Same flying.
With product photography, I usually work on my own. I don't have a stylist, I don't have a model, so I can take a minute and do this.
Right.
Whereas with this kind of photography that's up on the screen, there's a team waiting on me, and I wouldn't, I wouldn't mess around. I just get on with it. That's
more pressure to move through it quickly and consistency.
But then again, sometimes extreme cases like neon colors, I will.
Yeah. Philip was saying, do you create styles while you're shooting tethered or apply them afterwards? Like in this scenario, would you shoot one? Oh, you said you decided on the look like.
Yeah, it gets
early
decided
early on at the start.
Again, I will apply the style when I'm shooting tethered. Like the style is done for me. Like in advance. I will apply this, and then some people
shoot tethered with that style.
With that, exactly. So you have the option. Right, let me put in there. Next capture adjustments there. So some people, you have the option to shoot from styles. So whatever the style is, every single image that you're now like shooting in that is tethered into Capture One will now have that style.
This one there, isn't it? User style.
Yeah. So
my awesome style. There it is.
My awesome style. I don't usually do that. Like it's 50-50 with people. So either you shoot from styles, so then you know that, it's always the same. It's consistent throughout everything that you're shooting. Yeah. I just do copy from last, which is this little guy there. Now this can be dangerous if you don't pay attention because, like, say for example, you have a really messed up color and like you do actually have to make adjustments. Like say I'm shooting a white trainer and I make adjustments that only really applies to white product.
Very high key product.
If I forget that I did that, it will be because it's copied from last. So for those people that are a little bit forgetful like me, like maybe styles, copy from styles is actually the default of styles. It's called,
Kelly was asking to do any skin tone adjustments on this kind of work, or that's more secondary?
That would be secondary, I literally, because we have determined that the style and like whatever this looks like is her skin color. I'm not gonna mess with that, like especially because this model is probably back in next week and we're just rolling with it.
And you're selling the clothes, I guess.
That's it. That's why most of this work is unrecognizable. It is literally we have to make the product look as good as possible. Nothing else matters.
And
mannequin.
You described beauty. This wasn't today, but I remember someone asked, how would you describe beauty work or beauty photography? And I was trying to remember what your answer was.
What is it? What is beauty? What's the difference between beauty and
fashion
portrait?
Or whatever, or beauty and portrait?
Okay, so I love this sentence because I've start every one of my speeches. So let me put this little guy up there. So I don't do portrait work. That's why I can't show you an example really of the difference between it. But the line gets drawn when it's not about the subject in front of you anymore. It's not about the model. It's not about person. You're not portraying this human. You're not portraying that character.
The character or whatever.
So beauty and also beauty photography doesn't necessarily have anything to do with beautiful. Beauty photography means that you are selling a product or service. So for example, the image that I put up on the screen, like let's say like this one, that one, it's not about the girl in front of you, but it could be selling, like makeup, for example. It could be selling this eyeshadow. And what I mean with service, it could be selling this could be for the portfolio of a makeup artist in selling her skill in service, so like if it's for someone's book. You're trying to show off either a product or a service with that, and who the model is not important at all. Like this image doesn't tell you anything about her. She's a canvas for selling a product for you. And there's so much skill to it, like people, it's not just being a beautiful girl. Like this is about like interesting features, like these like freckles and stuff like that, about like stuff that like stands out. I don't generally like picking my models. I don't usually go for, classic beauty, whatever that might be, but like it's a sharp jawline. It's like something interesting in the face that I try and use just to, like stand out a little bit.
Who was it? It was Jesus.
Hey, Jesus.
Or Jesu, maybe.
Jesus.
Jesus was asking about color grading. Do you do much in Capture One, or is that something you keep for Photoshop? Or
So as I said, because my adjustments are minimal anyway, so
Yeah.
I wouldn't say I do most of my work in Capture One, but it isn't a lot of work because I stay true to straight out of camera.
Yeah.
Again, like I don't change the tone too much. I'm just trying to make it uniform throughout the image.
Yes.
Now, as I said earlier, if I'm being experimental, like I do use different plugins for that, but in general, like most of my color work is done in Capture One.
Yeah.
It's something that most people don't really know about.
I think there's often an expectation that you're going to use curves, you're going to use a color editor, you're going to pull the levels, you're going to do like, you know, all kinds of magic stuff when really, you know, like the old days, if you're old as me and you can remember film, you know, you had that sort of less opportunity to mess about with it as such. So it's actually nice to see that you're getting delivered a file that's pretty close to the final result. So how much time we got left? Because we got 9 minutes.
Ooh,
yeah.
Get those last questions
questions in. I think Kelly was asking a few questions. Kelly was asking, do you use the color balance tool as such or not? So I think that's what she was referring to, the shadows, midtones and highlights.
Oh, the uniformity?
No, the actual color balance. So that would be this guy, this one here with our wheels.
I never have, to
there
be
you
honest. Go. This is embarrassing, but yeah, Capture One is like, honestly, there's so many features in there.
Yes.
And I'm good at the ones that I use, but I fully have to admit, like, I haven't even touched like all of them because you can't. There's like so many.
And I think that's the same for anybody. And you shouldn't actually feel under pressure to know every single thing.
Yeah.
Because you don't need to know every single thing. I need to know every single thing because we have to, you know, talk to people about it and so on. But if you connect your camera, take a shot, and it looks pretty great, and you just do a few tweaks and you're satisfied, then so are we as well. But if you want to know about color balance tool or whatever, or any other tool that we've seen today, then it's pretty easy to use it. So just grab the little center circle, and then wherever you push it, tones, Yeah,
I'm probably going to be using that from now on. Now I'm going to play with it.
The nice thing about that tool, if you haven't seen it before, is that it doesn't require any sort of amazing color mixing talent. Like in Photoshop, if you want to color grade without, plugins and assistants, then you need to know a little bit about, mixing different color channels and so on. With this tool, it's basically, I want my shadows to be cooler, warmer, pinker, redder, and so on. So anyone using that tool can learn it in.
I literally just did.
There you go, in 4 or 5 minutes. Yeah. Ta-da! The only other thing you might not spot is that this guy on the end is like density, and then color tone, and then so if you want crush the shadows or lighten the shadows, you can do it as well. But that is literally it.
Awesome.
I mean, infinite combinations depending on how strong, like really cold, less cold. I mean, that is literally it. That is how to use the color balance tool lesson. So anyone can pick that up.
It's a little freebie for me there.
Felix, our friend Felix Kunz.
Oh my God.
It's not him. Someone was saying maybe he is here, but yeah, Felix uses color balance tool for example. So, hi Tina, love your work.
Thank you, Lena.
Do you usually crop that much in a beauty image, or do you shoot closer?
Right. So the image that's up on the screen right now is, I shot this with the intention of that being a macro image. So I'll show you a better example because this one's like made. So I would only be that close in. Let me show you the uncropped one. When the end result is something like this.
Right.
So for example,
because you shoot with Canon, right?
I do shoot with Canon. So the macro lens is my go-to lens, and because sometimes I just like jump in and do a macro image. So the one that I showed you a second ago, I'm not usually that cropped in, but this is an example up on the screen right now of where I would be. So for like sort of like beauty image, this is quite far out for me, but obviously this was about the flying hairs and stuff as well. So I'm going out a little bit with that. And then it gives me the option to crop it and like sometimes turn it a little bit as well. So I give myself a bit of space. Again, like this looks super cropped in, but with the intention of like having that like there.
Yeah.
I didn't actually leave myself too much space, to be honest.
Gotcha.
A little bit, because like play around with turning a bit. Yeah. So if the aim was like something like that, I would go quite close in. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Excellent.
Yeah.
Denise says, "Oh, that tool reminds me a bit like that. The one was in Aperture." Yes, I think Aperture is the only one. Other raw converter that has a similar tool. It's inspired from like Da Vinci, I guess. Lightroom doesn't have a tool that works in the same way, just to get a dig in there. But actually, if you want, color grading inspiration, then it's the film colorist or movie colorist guys.
Yeah.
It's really interesting watching content from those guys because they're almost ahead of the stills guys, don't beat me, in terms of, thinking about color grading and so on.
So, I mean, since we're getting towards the end of this, if you guys have any questions that are like
non-Capture One business related,
more than happy to answer these.
While that's coming in, Denise says, can you shoot wireless into Capture One? No, you have to be tethered. Yeah.
You have to be tethered.
Does the cable bother you?
Oh, not at all. Like, no. I mean, I thought you were going to say then, does the cable matter? And I was going to be like, yes. What are you getting there? Oh, I thought you were getting a cable.
No, I might have a cable.
My brand of choice is bright orange. So
Tether tools.
Yeah, that one. So I minimize the risk of tripping over that guy anyway. But yeah, like it doesn't really bother me at all. You get those guys in like all sorts of lengths and stuff like that. And also, because I'm a little bit clumsy, I use a little thing called a jerk stopper.
I'm actually just
and then he left me.
Grab. I thought I threw it in my bag, but I
took it out of mine.
Tether Tools gizmo.
What is it?
It's called a little tether block.
Yeah, that's it. So there's tether blocks, there's little jerk stoppers for like people like me that constantly ruin their port and their camera, and it just stops you from accidentally yanking it out.
Maybe I didn't bring it.
He didn't bring it.
I didn't bring it.
I feel like you guys are going to remember the word jerk stopper. Look it up.
Tether block,
Yeah. And so that stops like it from coming out of your laptop, from coming out of your camera.
Don't go cheap on tether cables.
No,
basically.
Definitely not.
If you have any connection issues, if you haven't shot tether with Capture One before, it's dead easy. But yeah, don't go cheap on the tether cable. It's just not worth the economy of buying a basic $10, €10, whatever cable. Spend the extra that you need, and then it's reliable. And always have a spare one, I guess.
I don't have a spare one. I might get myself. Hey, I literally just thought of a question that people ask a lot while I have this image up on the screen. Non-Capture One related, but in terms of beauty photography, people always wonder where the makeup has to be. Before, like how much is actually done in post, what standard is this too? And I think this is a good example. It's the dew and everything is done in makeup. Like this is not something, this is as perfect as it can get.
It's a raw shot that looks great out of camera.
So the only, like maybe there's a tiny line there, like something that bothers you, like one of the freckles might be too strong. That's what I would take out, but I definitely don't want to have to make like lots of adjustments. That was close. So basically, like the skill of your makeup artist for beauty photography is essential, and try and if you're starting out in this, find people whose portfolio reflects what you want to do. A makeup artist isn't necessarily like, they're not the same to each other. Some do weddings, that's about coverage. You want like dew and see pores still and definition. So sorry, that's just a little, I went off on one then. So like the quality of your team members is as important as your job.
Yes. And the big question from Jesus, how do I get my first job as a beauty photographer? That is a big question.
Wow. So beauty photography for me for a long time has been a passion. So it didn't make me money for like years, literally. So that's where fashion came in for me. So I would do fashion to earn me money, and beauty for me was just like from my heart. And there was my mom in my ear for years and years going like, why do you shoot for free, this and that? But there's a reason for that, because in all those years of shooting for free, that was like me investing in my future.
What I know about you in the short time that we've known each other is that you're always working.
Always.
And when you're not working, you're
working.
you're still working or testing or doing collaborative work and producing. I mean, that got you good campaigns, didn't it? So it wasn't for nothing. It just took.
So it's not just going to happen overnight, is what I'm trying to say. But the more, I always say, the experience that I've had over the years in doing tests, like that taught me how to behave on a real shoot and how to interact with team members and stuff like that. So in the beginning, it's not going to happen overnight. You just rehearse for the extreme case by doing tests. And then obviously getting your work out there, getting your work seen. It's a lot of legwork in the beginning. It's a lot of hitting people up, sending thousands of emails, getting thousands of rejections, and just constantly I'm quite active online. I usually quite helpful with people and get my stuff seen. I think people underestimate the power of social media as well. I have to say that I have booked beauty campaigns through Instagram as well as through LinkedIn.
Which is crazy. LinkedIn, the one that we ignore.
One day, literally 2 weeks ago, I went in there and I had 160 requests, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna spend a minute in accept or decline. And an hour after doing that, I was booked for a campaign.
There you go.
So don't underestimate
LinkedIn
that.
Is the way forward.
That's it. So just be present. I always say, it sounds super cheesy, but we're working in the visual industry, so pimp out your work.
Yeah, definitely.
Get it seen. Get it under people's noses.
Looking at the questions. If you buy cheap, you buy twice. That's right.
That is a very good point.
Definitely. Which macro lens? You said 100
mil.
100 millimeter.
That's the one.
Yep. And when you're shooting tethered, Anna was asking, do you secure your computer with anything? I'm super clumsy.
Oh, yeah. So I don't, but there's a reason for it. Now there is a thing, and I think I don't know the exact name for it, but it's a tether table or something.
Aero table, I think.
Yeah, and you can strap your laptop in with that. So that's for the really clumsy ones amongst us. I'm not quite there, but I'm quite lucky because my my case on my laptop, it's one of those, can I say brand names here? Maybe not.
I don't know, which one is it?
Spec.
Yeah, I don't know that
thing is super. It's almost a little bit sticky.
Okay.
So it's hard for me to push my laptop off the table.
Oh yeah.
It's quite, it's almost a little bit rubbery. So
rubbery.
That's good enough for me. That's a little tip for you. Get a case that's not slippery. Get that little, strap in tether table.
Yeah, for sure. IKEA trolley works well for securing. There we go.
Well,
IKEA for everything.
Some people would still get their laptop to fall off that thing.
I mean, you can look at again, not to pimp out tether tools, but it is a useful company for tethering stuff, and they have all kinds of straps, attachments, tables and things to help you shooting tethered, because there's nothing worse than having a suboptimal setup and tripping over cables, or your computer not being in the right place and all that kind of stuff. So I guess the less you have to worry about that, the more you can concentrate. Let's see. Oh, here we go. That's a good question from Kyle about models. Do you use new face models still, or only experienced models? One agency or many?
Okay, so that's a couple of questions.
Yeah.
So do you use new face models still? Now, with agencies, new face doesn't necessarily mean that they're new models.
Right.
Some agencies, the new face section kind of just means more editorial. I've had models sent from new face boards that had a really edgy look, and so they never made it onto the main board because that was very commercial looks.
Right.
So these girls turned up and had 5 years experience, but they came from the new face board. So don't think that's necessarily a reflection on experience. So yeah, I do still if I request packages for models, sometimes it's a mix of new faces and mainboard. I don't even sometimes look at it. I can guess from the portfolio what experience they have. So it doesn't matter to me if the portfolio reflects experience in a variety of expressions and poses. It doesn't matter to me how long she's done that. I can see from her portfolio that she can deliver.
Yes.
So yeah, it doesn't matter which board she's from. So yes, I do still. Now, in the beginning, people starting out, once they start contacting agencies, they will get the more unexperienced people in the beginning. That's just fact, because they match the level of experience of models that you that you get usually matches your own experience. So you grow while you grow, you get the more experienced models.
Yeah, so I guess the very first time you contact an agency, you might get someone less experienced, but if you...
That's it. They don't know you yet, so that's like, you kind of build trust with these agencies, and that answers my his other question as well, which was use one agency or many. Now, I use lots and lots, like, so I'm really close with about 20 London agencies, so like sometimes it's a question of what I want the girl for, because some agencies are more commercial, some are more editorial. So say, for example, if it's a beauty campaign and I'm asked to help cast models, it would be a certain, you know, like Nefs, for example, something like that. So if it was more editorial looking, it would be something like Select. But yeah, it's super important to build like good connections with a few of them.
Cool. And carrying on from that, Laura was asking, when did you start reaching out to agencies for models, and how's your approach? I'd love to start using agency signed models, but I don't know how to start.
So after about a year of shooting, I had my first commercial client, and which was Amazon at the time. Other pages are available. So then I was surrounded by models immediately. Right. So this was my first experience with professionals. So I would work with them on a daily basis and then kind of be like, hey, do you fancy coming to my place? And we like, that sounds super dodgy, but like just play around, like test.
Sure. And
then also once I started doing this, like I was more legit with the agency. So, but in general, I say to people seem super scared to contact agencies for the first time because they think like, oh, I'm not good enough yet. And again, remember that these agencies have models that need books for the first time as well. Yeah,
they need their pictures. They need material for their
at your level,
cards.
Pretty much. So the answer is start right now. Like there's no reason to wait at all. Like you've got something in your portfolio that will be appealing to one agency or another. So you might as well go for it. And again, like rejection, this is super important. Like getting rejected, because I did a lot in the beginning. It's not a reflection of your work. Like just, like ask again next week. These guys are super busy. If someone doesn't get back to you, it doesn't mean that your work is crap.
No.
It just means like maybe they were busy, or maybe they didn't have a girl like available, or like something, like don't beat yourself up. Like the reason could be completely out of your hands. So try again next time. Don't get disheartened.
And same question actually from Denise and Miranda. How common is it that you find the model? So you're shooting a campaign later on this week. So is that you finding the models, or the advertising agency, or both of you working together? Or?
It's different from case to case. So I have shot a campaign recently for a small makeup brand, and these guys just completely took care of model casting.
Everything, yeah.
The reason for that was because it was a foundation brand, and they had to find the exact match for 16 shades.
Wow.
So they,
that's a casting you don't want to.
Yeah, like I just trust these guys, and like then I just turn up and shoot whoever's there. Then, as you said, later on this week, I'm shooting a campaign for a known brand, and these guys were super trusting. They were like, you know what, like, give us some contacts with with modeling agencies. What do you think about these girls? So today I got like a selection. I picked the models that I wanted.
Nice.
I booked the makeup artist, hairstylist, blah, blah, blah. So these guys, like sometimes you just have a lot more rain. And when that happens, it's important that you have a team ready that you know and trust. And that's where testing again comes in really handy, because like I now know, these guys I've worked with numerous times. I can trust them. They are professional. They are skilled, and I can then recommend them for these jobs.
And I guess a lot of companies would prefer that you had models that you interact with well, because it's going to deliver a better product.
That's it.
Maybe this is the last question. What's the time?
Ooh, make it a good one.
Well, I can't actually remember the answer to this. How do you team up with companies like Phase One or Canon? Do you reach them, or just wait patiently for the first move? I don't know.
Okay, so Canon is a company that I've worked with a lot. So I have worked with these guys for years now, and that was literally a question of it wasn't me trying. It wasn't. No. They literally told me that after as well. It's not the people that shout the loudest with stuff like that.
No.
These companies watch you. And they watch your, like how you are, how you present yourself, how approachable you are, and
quality of your work as well.
So that's it. I call it that too. Yeah. So for me, it was a complete coincidence. There's nothing that I could have done. I went to a workshop by a photographer I admired. Canon was present, we spoke, they had a look at my images, and they went, you know what, we really, really like you. Do you want to talk for us? And that was it. Like they kind of, that was early on in my career. That was like 5 years ago or something. So like it was quite, quite bad still, but they saw potential. So it's, in those cases, I don't know how I ever got.
I think that how we met was that, I mean, it was your network, maybe another ambassador, a Capture One ambassador. I think it was either through one of our ambassadors, Zach, or Pratik. I think. So I think it was that network that, you know, you were friends with those guys. So of course, when Pratik is posting about something, or I see you comment and think, oh, that's, you know, her work looks interesting. Wow, that's, you know, as everyone said, commenting your work is outstanding, which it is. So of course.
So it's nothing that I could have done. I feel
no,
like
you didn't come to us. You didn't write us, you know, 3 pages of email why you need, you know, while it's, you know, phase one's benefit to work with you, or whatever. There was none of that. It was a case of being recognized because you're good at what you do, which is, you know, the best way to to be contacted. So no, I don't think you didn't do anything special or whatever. You were just good at
same
photography.
Photo was a similar thing. It was like they saw me like at a show or something and approached me. So it's never that I had to bug. It's just be you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You know, you didn't bug us or whatever. I mean, generally the people who do bug us probably are less likely to, because we get lots of requests in, like any company does. I mean, if you do write to, who was asking, it was
it Laura?
Laura? It was Carolina. So if you do write to a company, then from my experience, because you know, I personally get a lot of these requests come in, don't just say I'm a great photographer, which you may well be. You should sponsor me or give me a free copy of Capture One or a free camera or whatever. You know, it's always good to have a project in mind, like I'm shooting this and it's going to be used in this way. Do you want to also be involved? And that's a great way to do it. So, but in this case, we came to you, which is even better. Okay.
Don't want to stop now. This is so much fun.
I know, exactly. Justin says, hi. Hi, Justin. Thanks for a good webinar. What was this question here? It would be amazing if you mentored someone like me. Winky smiley. That was Miranda.
Well,
exactly.
I'm trying my best right now. This is free life coaching.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so I think.
Here's an idea.
Yes.
I feel like there's so many questions there, and we, as you said, we can't get to all of them.
No, unfortunately.
Hit me up on my social media.
Okay, so what I'll do is,
if you had any questions that we didn't answer, I'm more than happy to, answer your questions there. If you think of anything after this and you're like, oh, damn, I wish I would have asked that, just give me a shout.
I'm just going to put up on screen. It should come up in a second. Let's just check. There we go. That's pretty easy to remember, right? Yeah. At Tina Eisen. So I guess Instagram is probably the easiest place.
I'm way more active on there than anywhere else. So I'm like usually reply like straight away, and that's I can't promise that. But I'm super approachable. I don't bite. Come say hi.
No, cool. And if you're new to Capture One, the easiest way to get help is if you go to the help menu in Capture One and scroll down, and you'll see something that says Resource Hub. And that takes you to an online portal which basically has tutorials, advertises the webinars that are coming up, YouTube list, blog, because you wrote a blog post this week as well.
I did.
So go to, hang on, I'll throw it in the chat window, blog.phase1.com. And that's a really good post because that's not like all about Capture One, that's about your workflow, isn't it? So if you go to blog.phase1.com, I think yours is the most recent blog post, so it'll be the first one you see. The second most recent is also about converting from Lightroom. So if you have come to this as not a Capture One user, then that's also a good little 11 tips how to get started as well. So yeah,
Well, that was fun.
that was great. Yeah, and if you want to watch it all over again, then the recording will go up on YouTube sometime tomorrow. But rather than having to furiously click YouTube every hour tomorrow expecting it, you'll get a follow-up email in your inbox when it's ready. And that will show you the link of our YouTube channel, and you'll find it in the Capture One Webinars playlist, and you can watch any of the previous stuff as well. If you want to come back, then next week, I think it's next week, July 5th, that's me and my colleague Alex are going to be back, and we're showing, it's not any particular technique, it's just simple shortcuts and tips. So it could be anything from assigning your own keyboard shortcuts to copy pasting adjustments to doing all kinds of stuff. So it's stuff I found useful and stuff Alex has found useful, and things that we've learned from other people as well. So
thank you so much, guys. I'm literally just going through those comments, and you guys are really, really kind.
Thank you all for your kind words. Very nice. And when you exit the webinar, you'll get a link to a survey. So that's like 5 questions, I think. So if you fancy filling that out, that would be great as well. And say all nice things, even better. Alrighty. Many thanks for your time. Thanks, Tina.
You are very welcome. That was super fun.
And we will see you all again soon. So take care. Bye.